So Kendrick Lamar just dropped his album GNX. The Dutchboys and Ringbrothers debuted their Grand Nationals at SEMA. Did they just make the Grand Nationals and GNXs worth more money? Well, we're gonna talk about that today. And oh, by the way, this is my 1986 Buick Grand National. I'm Bruce, and you're watching East Coast Garage. 2024 is the year for Grand Nationals, and I think Kendrick Lamar on his own made them famous. In the past, the entertainment industry has been able to influence what cars are worth. Let me give you an example. Fast and the Furious. Turbo Supras were way more affordable before that movie came out. They definitely made the Supras and Skylines more popular. Therefore, it drove the price up, it really did. Now, the Grand National made it in the fourth one, but it wasn't like an iconic car. It was only in there for a couple minutes. Although it was really cool, it wasn't enough to make it a Fast and the Furious car. But for what it's worth, there's still a lot of people that don't know about these turbo Buicks to this day. And I think Kendrick Lamar at least made them popular enough where people are going to start researching more about these. Now let's talk about the Dutchboys Grand National. This has been in the SEMA show several different times, and this year it's pretty much the finished product. They have over 10,000 hours of work put into this thing. It's got a twin turbo 427 LSX under the hood, pushing over 1,400 horsepower. That is just insane. Now, 99% of the time, I don't like a Grand National that has a V8 swap in it, because I feel like when you take the V6 out of it, you just take the heart out of the car. But this Grand National is definitely an exception to how I feel. I absolutely love this swap. The centered exhaust looks super nice. The custom wheels, the interior, just all around is a fantastic resto mod. And the Ringbrothers made the most beautiful resto mod Grand National that I think I've ever seen. They basically fabricated this whole front bumper with metal. And the other reason why is because they left the factory V6 in it. Well, close to factory. It's a TA aluminum block, but it's still the same basic configuration, just a twin turbo setup with a custom intake manifold and a bunch of custom parts. I mean, the under the hood of this thing is absolutely beautiful, and it makes over 1,200 horsepower, and that's at only 32 pounds of boost. I say only, but 32 pounds of boost is not a lot for an engine built like this. So at 50 pounds of boost, it can make over 2,000 horsepower. That's just insanity, and more power than the 427 LSX. And did I mention there's a Tremec T56 6-speed behind all this? But I'm just curious, comment below which one of the Grand Nationals you like the most, the Ringbrothers or the Dutchboys. Now, I'd rather have a Grand National than a GNX because they only made 547 GNXs. What does that mean? Well, it means you can't do what I like and modify vehicles, drive them, put miles on them, enjoy them. They basically become a garage queen at that point, if you care for it to be an investment. I mean, you could drive it if you wanted to, but I wouldn't personally. Back in 2022, a GNX sold for $308,000. $308,000, that's wild. And it only had like 500 something miles on it. In retrospect, in 1987, a GNX would go for around $29,000. So that is a massive investment. If you would have bought one of those cars and just stuck it in your garage, so think about that with some rare cars that are coming out to this day. A lot of those are basically just like tangible savings accounts that will exponentially grow over time. Grand Nationals are also a lot more affordable because of that. My buddy sold one of these not too long ago for $45,000. It was modified pretty extensively, kind of like this one, and it was a very clean car. Now, you can get these in the 30s, you can get these in the 50s, 60s, even cheaper than 30s. They're gonna need a little bit more work, and they might be a little more rough around the edges, but we'll see, because I honestly think that a lot of the events that's happened this year are gonna cause the prices and the value of these to go up. So if you're looking to buy one of these, right now is probably the best time to buy them, because I don't think they're gonna be any cheaper than they are. And if you're looking to sell one, I think you should wait for just a little bit and see what happens. Maybe a couple months, I don't know, we'll see. I'm actually selling my Grand National, believe it or not. I've had this car for 16 years, and it's just time to move on. It's time for something different. and I've just had my fun in this car, and it's time for someone else to enjoy it the way that it's meant to be. I don't drive this car enough as is anymore, and like I said, I've just already had my time in it. It's been fun. I'm not sure exactly what I'm gonna ask as far as pricing goes. I was already gonna ask around 50, but I'm thinking it's gonna be north of 50, a little bit more now. But we'll see what happens in the markets also, and what if any of this actually affects the value of these cars. And who knows, we may not see a change based on these things for months or even years, I don't know. I'll come back with an update when I sell it, how much I sold it for, and all that stuff. And if something crazy happens and I wake up one day and decide not to sell it, I'll come back with an update about that as well. Meanwhile, check out the other cool cars that I feature in between time, and we'll see you in those videos. Now, before we're done here for the day, let's recap on some fun that I've had in the Grand National.
Well, that was a little bit of drifting.
Yeah, and even just like partial throttle, like
It's still a mannered car.
yeah, and that's like a quarter throttle, maybe. A quarter throttle, this thing feels like it's making 350, 400 horsepower.
Feels faster than my C6.
Can't pass a gas station. That's one thing. I mean, these cars, they didn't get bad gas mileage from the factory. I remember getting like around 26 miles to the gallon on the highway, just driving normal. Right now, the way this car's built, I can get like a little over 20 with the converter locked on the highway, not doing anything, just cruising. It doesn't matter. You don't buy a car like this to get good fuel economy. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video. Thanks for checking this out, and have a wonderful day.